Ladies and gentlemen, what is happening? Welcome to the 179th episode of the Byte, that weekly wrestling podcast available every single Wednesday night. It's a packed show because we are going to be talking about the WWE Royal Rumble happening this upcoming weekend, the Sunday. That is a 4-hour show. It does have a special start time, so please don't forget about that because I sure did. And the day before, we have NXT Takeover, which I honestly kind of forgot about because the hype just hasn't really been there too much. So we're going to be talking about that just a little bit. Remember, we are available every Wednesday on iTunes, YouTube, all over the place. We are available on social media. You can check our website out, bytethat.com, for all of that awesome information. We also want to thank all the people that have supported us every single week. We've been getting a lot of feedback about where you guys listen to us on the road. We have truck drivers in the UK that are telling us, hey, you guys have an awesome show and you help get us through the week. So drop more reviews like that on iTunes. We also want to give a huge shout out to our gold patrons, including Tony Meyer, Bo Segrist, and Nicole Tirado. You guys are awesome. For more details, including getting a raw and uncut version of the show for just $1. Just $1. All you got to do is head on over to patreon.com/bytethat. My name is Juan Velas. I am from the Shining Star of the Caribbean, and joining me for this action-packed Dragon Ball sequel episode, because the Spirit Bomb is going to be unleashed in the Rumble, I got Keith Poshak from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Then I've got Ryan McNulty from Boston, Mass. But Ryan, I got to talk to you, man, because Keith and I, we did something during the weekend.
Did you now?
Oh, we did. Oh,
yeah. No. And we weren't going to talk about it, but, 13 years of friendship, we got to be honest. The three of us, we got to be informed about what's happening. We saw it.
Do we have to?
Keith and I did it. We hit the play button, and we watched Ready to Rumble. One of my favorite movies of all time. Keith had never watched it. For those who don't know, that is the WCW movie. And, instead of talking, just what do you think, Keith? How are you feeling?
We made a video a couple of months ago and talked about some of the best movies involving wrestling of all time. And Ready to Rumble was in that. At the time, I didn't know any better. I hadn't seen it at that point. So now that I've seen it, and I know what that movie is, what in the hell were you guys thinking? That movie is...
It's so bad it's good. It's so bad it's good.
It's so
I still
bad
by that.
It's awful. That's a terrible movie. That is...
I completely disagree. I think it has a charm to it. Okay, first of all, when you have a list of movies about wrestling, it's a pretty short list if it's like a feature film about wrestling, right? Because not counting documentaries and all that stuff, it's a very short list. So it's got to make it on there because it was,
or you make the list a little shorter because maybe it doesn't.
You know what? That movie has some charm to it. Is it dumb? Yes. But there is a charm to it. There is an appeal to the wrestling fan and everyone. I think part of it it speaks to people, and even if it isn't the greatest movie ever, there's a lot of things that you can enjoy.
It's up there.
So this is how I would describe Ready to Rumble to somebody. Like, those parts of wrestling, and they mostly happen on Monday Night Raw, where like a family member or somebody will come in and that just happens to be on screen, and you kind of put your head in your hand and be like, oh, why did you have to see that? This isn't what I like about wrestling. Ready to Rumble's like 2 hours of that. It's not. No, like, I hope that if I'm trying to explain wrestling to somebody, I will keep that far away from the conversation. It's a bad movie, folks.
I bet that everybody listening is on there's three parts. The part that you love the movie, the part that you hate it, and this is probably the first time you're hearing it, because if you weren't around the 2000 era, like basically the tail end of WCW, David Arquette, Goldberg, Sting, so many people are in this movie. So it's got the talent, it's got the potential. Derek Wilson, a patron, was watching it alongside us, and he was tweeting about it, just going like in as much pain as Keith, because he had never watched it before. So anybody listening, Do you think that it's a good movie? It's a bad movie. It never came out on Blu-ray. I don't know if that's any indication that it was so bad. They never
That's
even
almost like
bothered
it
to
should be
re-release
lost
it.
to time.
Well, you know what? I think there's probably a huge difference between people who saw it when it came out versus seeing it for the first time in the context of like today. Juan and I seeing it back in 2000.
I think they call that maturity.
Yeah, but I'm saying, listen, I'm saying if you watch this as a kid and then you watch it now, there's a nostalgia to it that you can kind of apply to it. And that kind of helps make it be a more charming movie, I suppose. Whereas if you've never seen it before and you're watching it today with the full, only the context of your adult self, then maybe it's just going to seem a lot worse.
So Ready to Rumble. It's basically a way of life. But folks, we are going to get into deep discussion. They should see it, but
just
let's
to
focus
know
on maybe some things that maybe... Let's ask something, because last week in the Raw versus SmackDown face-off, I felt like there was just a lot of people that were not happy with Raw.
That's a movie.
That is a good movie. Nick Cage is in there before all the memes and all that stuff happened. Nick Cage
John Travolta is Nicolas Cage, and Nicolas Cage is John Travolta.
Hell of a movie. Now, I'm sorry. I'll stop derailing the show.
That's part of it, man. But yeah, every single week we break down the latest happenings with Raw and SmackDown Live. Now, because we're going to be focusing on all the matches that are going to be taking place in the Rumble, we're going to keep the Raw and SmackDown talk to a minimum, because once we get to the actual matches, we are going to really go into deeper detail about that. But in regards to the Twitter poll available every week on Byte That Cast on Twitter regarding Raw, totally mixed. This had to have been the most mixed bag of votes. And the majority only gave it 2 out of 4, saying it was just okay, followed by 3 out of 4. With 27%, it was pretty good. So we're seeing a contrast there. And then when we go over to SmackDown Live, also a mixed bag, where 38% gave it 3 out of 4, saying they liked it, and then 36%, 4 out of 4, saying they loved it. Now, I myself thought that this was a very good show, a very mixed bag. Maybe not Goldberg having a concussion. You exclude that concussion from... Okay, has there ever actually been a situation where somebody gets busted open before they get into the ring? That's not Sandman. I do gotta clarify that, because that was very confusing in Raw. For those that don't know, basically Goldberg came out and he has this ritual to which he's actually responded on Instagram saying that he's going to take a break from it, because I don't know, you coming out to cut a promo
seems like a good idea.
You are bleeding during a promo. What are you, Ric Flair? No, you're freaking Goldberg. So he did that, but I thought that both shows delivered a pretty good message that the Rumble is a big deal, given that it is a 4-hour show. They better make it seem like a big deal. Do you guys think it's a big deal based on what happened this week?
I don't know if the go home shows were the biggest hype fest ever. It didn't get me any more excited really, but I'm hyped for the Rumble regardless, for different reasons. Essentially because this is probably the most unpredictable Rumble match we've had in a long time. That when you end the show with, on Raw, it was cool to see Goldberg, Undertaker, and Brock Lesnar all in the ring at the same time. But it's like, are any of these guys going to be the one that actually wins? I don't know. Is it getting me that much more excited for the Rumble? I'm not so sure. And I don't know if SmackDown really did the same for me either. But nevertheless, Royal Rumble is one of my favorite matches all year. So I'm hyped regardless.
Yeah, I was a little more favorable towards these shows, where they did get me hyped for the Rumble, especially that last segment of Raw between Brock Lesnar, Undertaker, and Goldberg. It wasn't really, I wonder if these guys are going to win. But I started thinking to myself, yeah, Goldberg and Undertaker could be in the ring together. That'd be freaking cool.
That's insane right? to think about.
And just the fact that, it's never happened before. And I never really realized that until that moment. But both Raw and SmackDown had really good moments this week, whether it be the promo between John Cena and AJ Styles, Goldberg almost concussing himself on a door, which I didn't fact check if this is true, but I feel like it is. I think that's the same room that Punk walked out in.
Really?
That Goldberg concussed himself in, because I give credit to somebody on Squared Circle for this. I apologize for not having the username up right now, but during one of CM Punk's embeddeds when he was fighting in the UFC, they walked into that room in that arena, and it had the same door plate as the one that Goldberg walked out of. So maybe that room's just super cursed and is just the worst thing ever. Little moments like that, the whole Seth Rollins thing, Sami Zayn, I thought that was really neat how they did that. Like, Seth was honestly my pick to win the Rumble. I've been saying it for weeks, and now he's not in it, and they had a great match, him and Sami Zayn. Match. So Raw and SmackDown had really great moments. Raw once again suffered from the fact it just felt so long. I know we say it all the time, but a great show that feels the 3 hours that it is around a 2 out of 4. Really.
Yeah, I got to say that I really enjoyed the match that we had between Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins. I was not expecting the match that we did get, and I'm happy that we got that weird screwy finish, right, with Triple H's theme song finally playing. It feels like it was actually, wasn't it like 4 or 5 months ago, Keith, that you were hoping something like this would happen, some indication between Rollins and Triple H? So it's taken 4
finally
months.
Happening.
Do you feel something about this, that it's finally happening? Because Seth Rollins has really been delegated to nothing. If you think about his character, like, who is Seth Rollins? There's been a lot of talk online about that, and maybe now we're gonna get something. But for 4 months of nothing, yeah, it's crazy. For this week, it's living in this weird space of almost like too little too late, but at the same time, like, whatever, it's not a thing yet, because eventually, like 2 weeks from now, we're going to be like, yeah, Seth Rollins, Triple H, they're going full force. Who cares about all of that time away? But for right now, it's like, I guess it's kind of a half step there. So at this moment, it's still kind of whatever, but I know that's a very short-lived feeling.
Yep, and that's what I hate. That's what I hate. Yep. It's all just gonna get forgiven, right? We're just gonna like.
That's how wrestling works.
It's dumb. It's
the biggest joke.
So dumb, man. Like,
honestly, it's the biggest joke that we play on ourselves, because we sit here and talk about week to week things, but at the end of the day, none of it matters, because people remember the big moments. People remember the highlights.
It's just forgiven. I'd like to think that there was a time when, if someone started something with somebody, that, you know, it would continue immediately to actually tell a story, instead of it being like, okay, we're going to have Triple H piss off Seth Rollins, but because we want to save it for WrestleMania, we're just going to forget about it for like 3 months. And then, everyone's going to just kind of put it in the back of their minds, put it on the back burner, whatever. And then we're going to bring it back and it's going to be awesome. No, I'm not forgetting about this huge lull. I mean, we were back when it happened in the summer, and then nothing happened the week after that. We're like, where's Triple H? We're like, oh, this is perfect, right? They're just going to let it marinate this week, and then they're going to address it real soon. Nope, nothing for months. And now, once they bring it back up again, people are like, oh, wow, now they want to bring it up, but next week everyone's just going to forget about it, and everyone's along for the ride again. This time, I just feel like this kind of stuff shouldn't be forgiven so easily, but it will be forgiven. Whatever.
I agree completely. It's an unfortunate situation where the payoff is largely enjoyable, because I have no doubt that a Seth Rollins Triple H match is going to be very fun, very physical. But for crying out loud, there are other things that you can do between that time other than just I will stall this because there's nothing else really going on. And then magically when Seth Rollins gets back, who people are still confused, do you like Rollins? Why do you like Rollins, considering this whole thing is because they were both bad guys, but because one bad guy turned on another bad guy, that makes one of the bad guys a good guy and not the guy? It's very confusing. and I kind of want to cry. So now
like, why are Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins friends again? There's no explanation for that.
And speaking of that, guys, we got yet another Roman Reigns versus Chris Jericho match on Raw. I believe now this is not a confirmed statistic, but between Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, like the combination of Roman Reigns and Chris Jericho, it feels like those are the only 4 people that can wrestle between each other. Especially like with Jericho and then Roman Reigns, that combination has battled each other over 20 times, I believe, like in this short amount of time. So
that actually
why
seems
are we
low.
supposed to care about this?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
like it should be more than that.
But even then, when you think about a match like that confirmed on Raw, I will give credit to TMK Tanner on Twitter. He's a listener of the show. He was not watching this week. We're tweeting about it, and then he writes as a joke. Oh, what? Are they going to do Roman Reigns versus Jericho as the main event? Yup.
Boom.
That is it. Well, how do you respond to that? That is a problem when you're not watching the show on a week-to-week basis and you know what's going to happen. Why do you watch? That is a big issue. Now, we got the finish that we got. This is pretty much just a method to stall all the way to the Rumble. Do you think that added anything to it other than too much? Please stop.
Yeah, what you said, I don't really... I have nothing really left to comment about these guys. The Rumble is going to shake everything up. Like you said, it was stall mode. It feels like both shows have been in this pseudo stall mode for now, but everything is going to change after the Rumble, and I'm sure we'll be getting new stories.
And by that, you mean that we'll just have a reverse situation where it's Kevin Owens going for the title instead of
No! Stop it.
And then they stall it to Fastlane.
Yeah, but Seth Rollins and Jericho might be doing something different, so there's hope for that.
That's true.
Those 4 guys are just destined to battle each other forever. Now, before we get to the big conversation, because we did get the promo that we get between John Cena and AJ Styles, but because they have a match at the Rumble, we're going to be talking about that there. But as I said it in the intro, I really meant it. I forgot there's an NXT Takeover event happening this Saturday. And as somebody that loves watching NXT, it's very sad that I think that as each takeover has gotten closer, it's easier to forget about. And yeah, we're having the main event match between Bobby Roode and Shinsuke Nakamura. I think that's going to be a decent match. I will be, by the way, be doing a Facebook Live Q&A this Saturday before Takeover. More details at the end of the podcast. And then I'll go into some more details about NXT because we really do want to talk about Rumble primarily. But how do you guys feel about this? I mean, especially now, Ryan, you're somebody that states that you basically watch the takeovers, but at least there's some kind of hype between each one, right? That sort of gets you excited to it. So how are you feeling not watching the show every week, but knowing that there is an event happening this Saturday?
It's something like, I'll watch it. I'll probably have it on in the background Saturday when I'm chilling or whatever. So I'm like not crazy hype for it. Obviously I don't watch it on a week-to-week basis, so my hype level isn't going to be nearly the level of someone who watches regularly. My thoughts recently are just that I feel like a lot of the hype for NXT has been hurt by the fact that it's always now coupled with the major Big Four pay-per-view going on at that season. So it's cool for WrestleMania. I like that as a part of WrestleMania weekend, but when it's coupled with Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, or SummerSlam, I feel like it kind of kills the NXT hype. Even if the pay-per-view itself normally outshines a lot of what happens at the Big Four pay-per-views, it just felt cooler when it kind of stood on its own.
That is true, especially the early takeovers where remember when they would happen on a Wednesday? Like it would just be a normal episode of NXT. Like those takeovers got hyped as hell. And it would be sporadic.
Like there wasn't this overhype. Hey, it's happening in a month. No, 2 weeks. You're getting this live.
Mm-hmm. And for myself, I can't exactly put my finger on exactly what it is. But yeah, like Ryan mentioned, my hype is just not there for NXT. Like normally, like I don't watch NXT week to week, but I always make sure I'm caught up for the takeovers. And this is the first time in a while where I just don't feel compelled at all to like catch up or even catch the recap episode going into the takeover. It's just at this moment it's not doing it for me. Like I'll still check out the takeover out. It's something to do on a Saturday, and they're usually enjoyable. So it's not like, oh, I'm not going to watch it, but I just don't feel anything towards it right now, and I can't exactly explain why.
I think that what Ryan said is perfect. When you go to a concert, like say it's Metallica, there's always like one or two bands that come up before, but you're going there for Metallica. And I think that by lumping up NXT to the main pay-per-views, you're forcing yourself to have to split your excitement. You're either excited for this or that. Now, you can be excited for both, but I think that part of the mystique that NXT had was that it was its own thing, where now it's not that it's developmental or it's its own show. It's just lumped up to whatever big event. It's the same way we've been complaining about that there's an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. There's going to be an EC match, Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell match. It got rid of that uncertainty about like that unexpected, expect the unexpected. And I have no doubt that a lot of the matches are going to be good, like DIY versus the Authors of Pain. They had a really solid match, I believe, in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic that I did not expect.
They did.
If anything, that was the match that made me a fan of the Authors of Pain. Now, this was before or after. Somewhere there was like the dangerous powerbomb spot where they almost killed a guy. But aside from that, I think that it's going to be good. But I really want to get the feedback from everybody listening, because I don't want this. Like, especially because we're going to be going to NXT TakeOver during WrestleMania weekend, and we're not that far off. So, like, usually you can...
And you'll be dressed as AJ Lee.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Usually, you can sort of fantasy book what matches you will love to see. I honestly can't fantasy book an NXT TakeOver show during Mania weekend. I can't. I don't know what that card would look like. Even Bobby Roode versus Nakamura, as I said, it's going to be a good match, but it's not a match that I would pay a ticket to go see.
Well, I've been reading a lot on Squared Circle about this, and I think a lot of people are feeling similar when it comes to NXT, and there's also, I think a lot of people are saying that it's kind of fallen into this formula of, bring in hot indie guy, have him do two matches, then have him go for the title at the third takeover or whatever. And it's kind of falling into this formula. And also the fact that the perception of NXT has changed now. Now, like, the expectation they're through the roof. People are expecting to be blown away by every single show, when NXT really just started as this little developmental thing that you were just shocked by how good it was, because the expectations were, I wouldn't say low, but nobody was expecting it to turn out to be what it was. But now everybody knows what to expect from NXT, and how do you keep topping that show after show after show when match level expectations are so high, much higher than a WWE pay-per-view?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, but I'm hoping that something picks up, but I'm not feeling it so much right now. But we are going to be getting to our Rumble predictions. By the way, I want to give a quick shout out to everybody that entered the BT Rumble. Ryan announced it last week, and Ryan, that filled up in like, what, an hour, more or less?
Yeah, in just a couple of hours, we filled up with 30 people. So I want to thank everyone for joining that. Your numbers were posted on the Twitter. You can check it on the feed. I'll post them up again before the Rumble. I'm sure most people were able to catch their numbers, though, because I tagged everyone who's involved. So thank you, everyone, for doing that. It was really cool to see. And good luck to everyone out there.
Yeah.
Indeed.
It's going to be yet a little bit bigger incentive. Rumble's going to be a super exciting show because of that. But yeah, we have a pretty packed card for the Rumble. So obviously the big conversation is going to be the Rumble match itself. For that, we have a very specific breakdown, the participants that are confirmed. Are we going to get any surprise entries? I'm really hoping so. Is it going to be Kurt Angle? According to TMZ and Kurt Angle, no. So that to me is yes. But we'll save that conversation.
It's going to be Shelton Benjamin, MVP, yes. Carlito, Kurt
Angle. At the same time. Oh, don't forget John Morrison. Don't forget John Morrison.
And John Morrison.
Yes, the typical roster of totally going to be a surprise and never actually show up.
Poor guys. But we do have a pre-show for the Rumble that is scheduled to have 2 matches. So The first one here is a tag team championship match with 2 referees assigned for the match. Okay, why not? We have Cesaro and Sheamus defending against the team of Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Per tradition, we're going to do Ryan, Keith, and myself, but because this is not a lightning round, we're going to have a conversation about all the matches, savoring the big conversations for the main event matches. Let's just give our quick feedback, hype level, and then who's going to win.
What a stipulation, man. 2 referees. Now we can make sure no shenanigans are ever going to happen.
Next month, 3.
And then 3 ain't enough. You'll need 5.
So Gallows and Anderson are essentially the punching bag of the tag division at this point. I want to say that they're going to win, but I don't think they will. Even though, like, I was actually kind of excited when they almost won the titles last week. I'm still going to go with Cesaro and Sheamus on this. I think Gallows Anderson should win. I feel like we've been saying this for a long time. Like, they need to get that win, man, so that people actually respect them. But it's not going to happen.
I have to agree. I think that the Good Brothers are going to get screwed by a couple nerds at the Rumble. And they're going to win eventually. I strongly believe that in the in the first half of 2017, the club will be Raw Tag Team Champions. But that's not going to happen yet. I think... Cesaro and Sheamus are going to win. Honestly, hype levels are low for this one.
Yeah, it's weird. When you look at both tag divisions, they have a problem where there's no personality to it. You look at it, and it's just tag teams everywhere. And then you have the vaudevillains, because poor guys, if nobody watched SmackDown Live, poor guys. You know it's bad? When you both get eliminated at the same time during a battle royal with no effort. Nothing happening. So vaudevillains, shout out to you guys.
I disagree on the SmackDown side. I think that the SmackDown side lives in a place that anybody can be considered a contender at any moment. They just need that little push.
Exactly.
The big difference between Raw and SmackDown is that the big tag team on SmackDown is interchangeable in the way that it would only take a week or two to make the Usos, or even I would even say the Fashion Police, considerable contenders for the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, where most of the Raw tag teams that barely exist, you have to try to really get them up there. Did you guys hear
about Cesaro's alternate career that he has going on now?
I did see that.
Yeah.
He added another layer to that tuxedo being ripped off in his entrance. You never know what you'll find under there.
I don't know what country it was, but there was an ad for a strip club that used a PSD of Cesaro advertising for male strippers. So there you go, Cesaro. You know, it's already part of your entrance. You could just take it one step
Cesaro swing.
further.
You can make a lot of money with that.
The Cesaro swing. Oh my god.
This makes perfect sense. But ultimately, Cesaro and Sheamus have to win. Now, this match is weird to be talking about on a pre-show format. It's Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax. This is a feud that's been going on for a while, and I have mixed feelings about this. They've been trying to build this up. Sasha clear to go. You know, she was selling like she was injured, but then she was fine. Do you guys think that this is going to be a good match?
I'm not convinced it's going to be a good match, but it will be interesting. Nia Jax hasn't really had that big spotlight yet for a match on a pay-per-view, so this is really going to be a first for her. And I think, first singles match, of course. Yeah, I'm really interested to see how this goes down. I fully expect Nia Jax to win, and she should win if they really want to keep her credible. It's a little too early for her to get the win. It's a little too early for Sasha Banks to beat her and for her to take like a pinfall loss. They have the whole knee injury thing that they can lean on for Sasha Banks so that she doesn't look too bad losing to Nia. So yeah, interested to see how it goes down. Nia Jax wins.
I know this probably isn't going to happen, but God, I hope that our Nia Jax just crushes Sasha, just destroys her. But it'll probably be a more even match, but I think they will lean into that knee angle and then kind of make that like that's why Sasha lost, and still making Nia Jax look like a threat in the process. So I think Nia wins this one, but not in the dominant fashion that I would like to see it happen.
I do think that that's where they should head long term, but if you compare the Charlotte Bayley feud to this one, I think that this one has longer legs. I think it can be a much better story. I'm a big fan of the David and Goliath.
I don't know. Charlotte's pretty tall.
Well, come on, man. Come on,
longer
man.
legs, huh?
Boo.
Huh?
Boo. But then Nia's going to get you with that leg
drop. Cesaro swing.
And considering Sasha looks small compared to everybody, I'm looking forward to the dynamic here. I think that we're going to see something similar to like your Kofi Kingston versus Brock Lesnar. But I believe that Nia does have to win. She better win. I want her to win because I still don't really feel anything for her. I don't feel like anything special or exciting. So hopefully this match does something to set up for a better match that we're obviously going to get. I think that this is maybe...
This match is going to make you feel things you've never felt before, Juan.
Oh, it better make me feel. Whoa, what was that all about? I don't know. I'm just going to go on with the next match here.
I feel like I need to call the police.
I'll just switch up to the women's now. Now let's go to the main show. The pay-per-view kicked off. I want to give a quick comment on this one.
We kicked off.
Kicked up. We can do a kip up as well, but I'm already sitting, so that won't really go anywhere. But 6-woman tag team match. We have Becky Lynch, Nikki Bella, and Naomi battling against Alexa Bliss, Mickie James, and Natalya. Now, before talking about this match, I don't know if for those who don't know, Lillian Garcia does have a podcast called Making Their Way to the Ring. Yes, it is a weird podcast title, but she was interviewed this week.
Is it weirder than Byte that? I don't know.
It just feels like Making Their Way to the Ring.
It seems a little
something
out.
else. Yes. But regardless, she interviewed Mickie James. And Mickie James, for those that haven't listened to this podcast episode, she talks about some super personal stuff that Lillian didn't even know about. And I'm just going to lump up recommending the Talk is Jericho podcast with Perry Saturn. Holy crap, you guys have got to listen to that. Whether even people that don't like wrestling, just hit play on that. Like, show that to a family member that doesn't support wrestling so they can appreciate just what's going on. But Mickie, in this interview, she's talking about how she had low self-esteem issues, like during her run in the WWE, the first one, about how she didn't feel like she was doing a lot for the women's division. And I was listening to that on the road to me getting home and then watching SmackDown Live. So then in SmackDown, she's going, I made the women's division. Like Divas Revolution, I started this. It was like a huge contrast of real life Mickie James going all humble, like not being satisfied, but then the characters like overly satisfied, super egotistical. And that's never happened before, where I listened to a podcast about a currently active superstar as I'm making my way to the home. And then I get that huge contrast. So just quick food for thought for those that do want to listen to those podcasts. Maybe the character becomes a little bit more difficult. Of a story. Yeah, man. I was very confused throughout because I wasn't sure, do I like the character or not? Because like I like Mickie James the person. Regardless, who wins now?
I think Alexa, Mickie, and Natalya are probably going to win just because, Mickie just got here. She should probably be on the winning team. And I think that would be a good kind of statement maker if they want to have her be credible. I like the angle that Mickie James is playing with her character because what her and Trish Stratus did was actually very important in the women's division. I think things kind of got set back a little bit after that in the women's division for a while, but they had a legitimately great story that people were very interested in. People did care about that in a time where the women's division was kind of rocky at the time. So that, I think, definitely played a part in things that would come later for the women's division. So yeah, Mickie James, Alexa Bliss, Natalya get the win. And I'm digging what Mickie James is doing right now.
The beauty of a 6-man or 6-person tag match here is that you can look strong and not have to eat a pin. And I think that's going to be the situation with this match, where Mickie James and Alexa Bliss can look incredible and look very, very credible, but they don't have to lose the match by being pinned. So I think that they will look strong, but Becky Lynch, Nikki Bella, and Naomi end up winning the match, because Naomi just came back too. You have to remember that. So both sides have something to prove, and I think this is just a situation where the good team ends up winning, good character-wise, not like a skill-wise, but the good people team end up winning.
Yeah, I think that they can afford to have Natalya take the pin in here, where
she eats them all anyway.
Yeah. Natalya. I mean, it's Natalya. Naturally, that happens. Never forget, she used to be Great Khali's girlfriend. So that happened at one time, and she farted. Natalya's been through a lot. Like, looking at this,
never forget.
She's like the Kane of the women's division. She's just really always got, like, they stick her with the crappiest stuff.
But real talk, you look at this tag team match and look at the generations of female competitors. You have Natalya, who was a very talented wrestler in the worst time for women's wrestling, but then you have Mickie James, who was just before. Naomi used to be a Funkadactyl. Nikki Bella was part of the Bella Twins, and then they just did their dancing thing for a long time and didn't do a lot until like after. And then you have Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss. So this match is like just all of the last 10 years of women's wrestling rolled into one. But yes, I believe that the team of Lynch, Bella, and Naomi should get the victory. Especially Naomi should get the pin, because she needs that. Out of all of them, I feel that she is the weakest character, and I think that her getting that pinfall over Natalya is going to set up for something once they eventually wrap up the storyline between Natalya and Nikki Bella. So up next, we have Rich Swann versus Neville. This is for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. Rich Swann has been on fire, so has Neville. I think that these are two guys that can steal the show. The problem is that I know we have a 4-hour show. I don't see these guys getting much time in the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, unfortunately, and that's gonna be very sour.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good match. I fully expect Neville to win. I think they just need to put the Cruiserweight title on him for the rest of eternity to really build it up and help the struggling Cruiserweight division. The Cruiserweights are definitely the new divas. They seem to be the ones getting the short end of the stick on all the cards and all of that. So I think they really need Neville as the guy to just carry the division. He's a familiar face for a lot of these people and might get more people interested in 205 Live. There was a lot of stories this week on how their WWE isn't really happy with the network performance of 205 Live. So I think Neville might be their answer for trying to get more interest.
I agree with Juan that they probably won't get a lot of time on the pay-per-view, but at the same time, I don't think this needs a lot of time, honestly. It just needs to be 10, 15 minutes, go in, do your crazy shit that you do, get out. I think Neville ends up winning this match, and it'll be an incredible match in the process. I think that now is the right time to put the title on Neville, add that little bit of credibility to the Cruiserweight division, because I still like the Cruiserweights, but Neville's on just a whole other level than everybody else. He just looks the part. He looks like the champion of the division, and he deserves to be it. So I think this is just a situation. Now that Neville's back, just put the title on him in the first opportunity you get, then have somebody build up to Neville's level over time, whoever that ends up being. And I'm actually looking forward to that.
I have no doubt it's going to be an impressive match. Neville had a match with Cedric Alexander in 205 Live. I didn't see the show.
It was a hell of a good match.
Oh, really? You got to see it?
I did. I watched a little bit of it, and it was. I was impressed. I was
Trip
happy.
Bradshaw was also on that show. Incredible reference for JBL tripping. They actually named a jobber Trip Bradshaw on 205 Live. That is just insane. Oh, you didn't know that, man?
No way.
They actually named the guy Trip Bradshaw, and they were making references to like watch out for that clothesline.
JBL tripped. Wow, that's amazing.
Wrestling people, anything can legitimately happen. Now we've agreed up until this point, and sadly, Like, I don't think there's going to be any dispute
No, we haven't.
here. Well, for the most part.
We've disagreed on the women's 6-man. Ryan's like, oh, the bad people are going to win. And we're like, oh, the good people are going to win.
Well, yeah, I guess. Well, the majority is in agreement now. I'm going to go with Neville also winning the Cruiserweight Championship. I think that him and Cedric Alexander are going to be the big storyline happening. The biggest problem with the Cruiserweight division, and this is just food for thought, on a WWE product where you get a match like Sami Zayn versus Seth Rollins, that is very much a Cruiserweight type match. What is the point for the Cruiserweight division? I don't know what the point is. I really don't know. You get character development in other shows that you don't get in 205 Live. Now, you do get, your Noam Dar. You get some things that are actually happening. The problem is that they're in this little corner, and until they break that little corner and do something else, they are the sideshow to Raw. They are the sideshow to WWE. And I thought that was NXT, but apparently that's 205 Live. Really talented superstars, but yeah, they got to work on that.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a whole nother conversation for another time, and I'm sure it will be. But when a lot of the people at the top of your card are doing flippy stuff, it's hard for the Cruiserweight division to separate itself, right? We talk about the suicide dives and all that. Everybody's doing that kind of stuff. So how can the Cruiserweights, without killing themselves, actually be different? And that's kind of the struggle. And I see why they were so hesitant on the Cruiserweight division for so long.
And with such a small division, eventually you're going to get to your Jericho, Owens, Reigns situation. You're going to end up facing each other because there's not 50 people on this roster. So you have to face the same people. So
especially when they're not having them work outside their division ever.
Exactly. So up next, we do have the Raw Women's Championship match. Charlotte defends against Bayley. Really looking forward to your predictions here.
I'm going to go with Charlotte. I think they're going to keep that streak going. Doesn't really seem like it makes sense to have that streak end now. Also, Bayley, I feel like you haven't really told... I mean, I talk about this all the time, but they haven't told the Bayley story yet. It would seem a little abrupt for her to just kind of win the title without there really being that long journey there. It seems too soon for that.
Yep, I agree with Ryan completely there, where a Bayley title win now just seems very premature. I have no doubt it'll be a great match, but I see Charlotte winning, zero questions asked. They'll probably keep that streak going till Mania, where it's Charlotte versus Sasha Banks again, and then Sasha does it.
No, they better not do that.
I am really hoping they don't do that.
Bet you want to bet
with Bayley versus Charlotte at Mania.
Bets don't end well for me usually. Maybe I'll hold back on that.
Be very careful. Okay. As somebody that needs to dress up as AJ Lee at TakeOver, don't accept bets, man. They're never a good idea. They're never a good idea.
I'm done. I did the Tyler Breeze thing, the Macho Man thing. I'm done.
Which you can watch at vid.me/byte that. I'm going to have to agree and go with Charlotte just because I don't get the reasoning as to why I should be excited for this match. I think it's going to be a solid match, but if you're going to break Charlotte's pay-per-view streak, I would hope that it is on a bigger platform, and I love that WrestleMania was really the start of the women's revolution, like not Divas revolution, because they retired the championship and all that, so it makes sense that a year later you do something like that. But WWE has done surprising things and just ended things abruptly, so at the same time, we could be talking about this next week saying, hey, the pay-per-view streak is over. But I'm going to have to go with Charlotte.
The streak is over.
Over. Now, guys, choose. Are we talking about the Raw or the SmackDown Championship match first?
We'll talk about the Twizzler belt first.
Let's do it. So, Kevin Owens defends the Twizzler Championship. I hate Twizzlers, by the way, against Roman Reigns in a no disqualification match. They taste like nothing. They taste like nothing, dude. Like nothing. They don't even taste bad. Just
taste like Twizzlers.
A subtle sweet taste.
Ugh, they're so bad.
It's the most artificial taste on the planet, but it's definitely there.
And speaking of artificial tastes, Roman Reigns is the challenger and could walk out the champion because Chris Jericho will be suspended
I'm impressed by that.
above the ring in a shark cage. I'm so worried about him.
Not a crash cage.
If he's got to take a deuce up there, man, he is in trouble. What are we talking about here, man?
Drop trout. Drop one over on Roman Reigns' head, it would be great. It would be great for ratings.
It's like it's the evolution of the white powder thrown into the face. Just take a deuce on the guy. Can't see. Then we get the pop-up powerbomb.
He's doing it. No, Roman Reigns is old school. He's going to do it as a throwback to the Kennel from Hell match. All right.
Oh my God. There's a cage.
All right. So Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. It's time, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to open your hearts and accept the love of Roman Reigns because he is going to be your Universal Champion. Make no mistake about it. This is the end of the line for Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, as much as I love the guy, guess what? It's WrestleMania season. Belt's coming off. We're putting it on the guy and I'm speaking from WWE's perspective. We're putting on the guy we like now. And hey, thanks for holding it. Thanks for keeping it warm for Roman Reigns. They got plans to do. I think Roman Reigns is going to be involved in the Universal title match at WrestleMania, and they're going to make him champion now. And the Jericho, it's no disqualification match. So even if Jericho is passing weapons or whatever down to Kevin Owens, like the manager for the Authors of Pain did. He dropped the chain down for them or whatever at the NXT show. Jericho might do something similar, but it won't matter because it's no DQ, so Reigns can just use a chair and do whatever. Roman Reigns wins!
Ryan, I think you bring up a very good point. And going off of that, I personally have accepted this future. I have welcomed it into my heart.
I accept Roman Reigns as my Lord and Savior.
Indeed. Praise be the Roman Empire. But I honestly think it's time. I think Kevin Owens had an all right run as Universal Champion, but just doesn't have enough momentum with it going into WrestleMania season. So I think it's time to hit the reset button. And if we're being realistic, I don't think that there's anybody on the current Raw roster that should be champion going into WrestleMania above Roman Reigns. It might not be the popular answer, but I think that's the real answer. And I think that now is the time to put the title back on Roman. And I'm super okay with it. I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing what they do and if they do anything differently this time. And it was a good run, KO, but I think it's come to an end.
It's a very sad state when we have to just learn to accept something that we're not a huge fan of, even though we've said on the podcast we don't mind yourself. Reigns.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay
I'm
with
more
it.
with Juan on just accepting it. I'm not like super angry or anything. It's just like I'm not hyped, but I'm not hyped about anyone on Raw, so it doesn't really matter.
But seriously, like, name somebody better to go into WrestleMania as the champion. If that's the big show.
That is the best point. But here's the thing.
Big
and
show.
I think that everybody listening. Well,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he does have abs now.
That
can be awesome.
Who the big show's cut makes me feel things.
I think if Finn Balor doesn't make it to the Rumble, they're just going to put on the face paint on Big Show, and nobody will be able to tell the difference. But here's the thing.
Agreed.
Here's the thing. Everybody, I'm going to add to what Ryan just said. So we have to learn to accept this, right? Now, if the plan B was this, if the plan B was that Roman Reigns does not become Universal Champion, there is always one. You know what would happen? You don't make the list. Roman Reigns would close out WrestleMania becoming champion. Which outcome do you like more? This is not a good question because it's like out of the two evils, which is the lesser one, but basically whoever they put up against Reigns is going to be cheered. Anybody. Doesn't matter. So they may as well just put the championship on him now so you can have it for a little while and then they just take it out of WrestleMania because I would be very surprised if he walks out of WrestleMania the champion. I don't think they're going to make that mistake.
Even if he does, it just feels better if he walks in as champion.
Come on. Really? Even if he does?
okay, win or lose, does it not feel better for Reigns to go in as champion than for them to end the show with him winning the title like it's supposed to be this exciting moment? Yeah, agreed. I'm glad we can all agree on that.
So for all of that, Roman Reigns is victorious. Insert massive boost here, as well as WWE editing whatever crowd reaction so it then benefits the outcome of the match. Never forget that they actually did that. Never, because they've done that. They've done that historically. Monster talked about that on his podcast. And now yet another match.
I meant the booing, not the editing, by the way.
Oh, never. Roman Reigns has the Xbox stigma that I think is going to take a very, very long time to get over. And now we're going to be talking about the SmackDown WWE Championship match, AJ Styles versus John Cena. Now, before talking about the match and the eventual winner, I do want to have a tiny discussion about the promo that did take place during SmackDown Live, where John Cena was talking about the fact that he was built for the WWE, that AJ Styles was built up for the indie scene. Super weird conversation. And then later, just to add to this, on Talking Smack, I believe it was, they aired an interview with John Cena on the Today Show, I believe it was. And when they were, the people, the hosts were just saying, hey, you're taking on that guy from Atlanta. I don't even know what his name is. So your champion is just being pummeled to death by these hosts. Like, that is the guy that is supposed to be representing SmackDown Live.
That broke my heart, by the way. But
very, very sad thing.
Real.
And then you add the poster situation. So 3 things: the hosts, the indie comment by John Cena, and then I forget the third thing, but there are 3 things. I already forgot one of them.
The poster.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, the saying he's an indie guy, saying he's built for the indies, then you have the poster, and then you have the Today Show, right?
Correct. Yeah. There we go.
Honestly,
so, with all that,
y'all gotta chill. It's not as big of a deal as you think. Really, I think you could see down in the header they were talking about the Super Bowl or whatever. So I think they were just trying to, NFL is a thing, guys, and my team is going to the Super Bowl again. Just saying. We can talk about that next week. Football can be next week, despite what you guys want to happen on the show next week.
Good to know.
So, hey, Cena's from Boston with the Patriots going to the Super Bowl, and AJ Styles is from Atlanta, and the Falcons are also going. So, he's from Gainesville, but Atlanta, Georgia, whatever. So I think they were just trying to play up that, hey, these 2 guys are facing each other, and their football teams are also facing each other. But in actuality, like mainstream media, WWE is John Cena. There's literally nobody else exists. So you just have to present, if you're going to present anything to the mainstream audience, all they can really handle is, okay, John Cena, WWE. That's all we know. That's all we're going to get. So I think they were just trying to keep it very light on the actual WWE discussion. So they really just don't get into, oh, this is AJ Styles. This is what he's all about. It's the Today Show. Nobody who's actually going to tune in to the Royal Rumble is watching the Today Show. Let's be real.
So how did you feel as a fan?
I like that AJ brought up the poster thing. That was cool. That was on Talking Smack, and much deserved to bring that up. Why is he not on the front? But yeah, no, I'm cool with the whole indie thing. I like the way AJ kind of positioned it more on Talking Smack, where he's saying, there's a WWE style, and Cena can't adapt like I can. Whether I'm wrestling in Japan or England or whatever, there's different styles that you have to adapt to, and that's something that John Cena couldn't handle. I don't know. Either way, I'm pumped for this match. I think I'm going to say AJ retains, and this is crazy because a lot of things before were telling me that John Cena was going to win this match. But I don't think they've quite hyped the 16 championship thing enough for it to be time for him to win it. It just seems like we haven't gotten there yet. So AJ Styles will retain. Even though everything before this was telling me that John Cena was going to win, I'm still picking AJ Styles. I don't know if he's going to walk into WrestleMania as champion. We still have the Elimination Chamber coming up. But right here in this match, I think AJ will retain.
I agree with you on that. I think that these two are going to put on a freaking clinic and just have the incredible match that they always have. To go back to your earlier points, Juan, about the poster, the promo, and the Today Show, I don't really want to add to the poster and the Today Show part because I think Ryan said it all perfectly. But with
Thank you. It was pretty perfect, wasn't it?
It was. It really was. But the whole indie versus WWE style, I really like how they phrased that because they made both sound... At the end of the day, they both sound credible, and it is 100% accurate. Like, nothing they said was unfactual. It's... Yes, AJ is absolutely the indie guy. He is the better wrestler, and John Cena is the better WWE guy, aka the entertainer. And you could argue that nobody does it better than John, but the way that they worded it, neither side seemed like an insult, and I think that was very key and very important to what they did there. But yeah, this is going to be a phenomenal match, and they're going to put on a clinic. I think that the John Cena number 16 happens at WrestleMania probably. And that'll be fun. It'll be a big moment. But AJ wins for now and probably loses it in the chamber.
I actually think that Cena is going to win this match. Because if you're talking about Charlotte with her pay-per-view record in this, I don't think that you keep both going. I think that you get out of the way the new Cena championship win. And then right at chamber, you take it off of him. John Cena is the guy that you can take the championship off of him very quickly.
Is that what you're
saying? Exactly.
Oh.
Okay. Interesting.
Because if you think about it, everybody's waiting for the 16. Nobody's thought about the 17th. It's a matter of when. It's going to end up happening. And we know that these two guys can have an awesome match. And I think that with Cena's current character, it makes a lot more sense for him to be the champion and have people chase after him than it is him chasing after the championship, because the whole thing is you got to go through me.
Shit.
How can you go through him? I'm
changing my pick. I really like that line of thinking.
Yeah.
I'm switching it to Big Match John. And
Big
now
Match
that I'm
John ball game.
Very happy with this.
It would be easy to take it off of him in the chamber as well.
Because there's a bunch of people, and you can even have AJ pin Cena at the chamber, because the excuse is, well, you've been getting your ass kicked the whole time in the match. It's a chamber match. And then it sets up for whatever they're going to do at Mania. I don't mind seeing these two guys wrestle at Mania. As somebody that is going to Mania, I would like to see that match. And this gives hunger to that, because then when AJ wins that, Cena has to film a movie, I believe, at some point. So he's probably going to take a break after WrestleMania. It sets up everything. I'm very happy about this possibly happening.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with you guys. Just I think the 16, they're not gonna just kind of have the 16 be this little dud of a thing where it's really just a means to get to 17. I think they'll go a different route in making 16 really, really important. The thing is, you guys, I mean, we're getting way ahead of ourselves talking about where we think Cena's going to line up at WrestleMania. I would be very, very surprised if Styles and Cena had a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. I would be very, very surprised. I think a lot of times they like to do a new kind of feud, a first ever matchup, or just, it wouldn't, like, this AJ Cena thing's been a kind of backstory for the year. I feel like they're going to wrap things up relatively soon and then start a new story for WrestleMania where, it just doesn't seem WWE-like for them to have that match happen at WrestleMania again, because they've had so many matches this year.
Even then, notice how my prediction is that AJ walks out of champion at a WrestleMania, because I think that with Cena, the whole 16-time thing is not as interesting as, is he going to beat the record? Rather than, well, he tied it. But so
you
what?
You get to tell two stories.
Dude.
And you can separate them.
Think back to the streak. We need to, as fans, and this is a horrible thing to think about, but we got to stop hyping ourselves up for big moments. Because in WWE now, they just happen. They don't really build up to them too much. They just happen. We complain about it, and
they
then
don't
we move
save
on.
anything.
We talked about this at the beginning of the show.
It just seems like you could make money off the hype of he's gonna tie Ric Flair, and then let that cool off for a while. And then all of a sudden, is he going to beat the record? That's a whole new hype train that you can make. But to the point,
like there's always a push and pull with that, because if they hype it too much, we're sitting here being like, oh, you could see that coming a mile away.
Exactly.
I much prefer the approach of it just happens, because they can still make all that hype, but they make it next week. They make it after it's already happened. People will remember that portion of the hype instead of leading up to it. It all ends up being hype at the end of the day, and you get that surprise moment in the process.
So let's focus on the Rumble now, because I think that ultimately what ends up happening in the Rumble match can greatly affect this. I think that regardless, all of these matches have potential to be very, very solid. So far in the Rumble, we have 22 confirmed participants. I'll just name them really quickly. We have Goldberg, Lesnar, The New Day, all three members, Chris Jericho, Strowman, Corbin, Taker, Ambrose, The Miz, Ziggler, Cesaro, Sheamus, Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, Luke Harper. So that combination there's a big question mark as to what's going to end up happening. Sami Zayn, Big Cass, Rusev, and Mojo Rawley. Now, rather
than get Big Show in there too,
I believe I did not see the Big Show. He's there, but I didn't mention him. So the Big Show. So rather than just getting to ultimately who's going to win, let's see the experience first, the package of the Rumble. WWE loves numbers. They didn't do that many videos this year if you compare to the past, like the Rumble in numbers. Now it's Remember the Rumble.
They have 4 hours and a pre-show to fill. We'll be seeing that video more than once on Sunday.
Very, very true. So first up, the question is, who will get eliminated the fastest? This usually goes to like your Santino Marella, your Joe character, somebody that's not going to last too long. James Ellsworth is, I believe, also in the Rumble, and I didn't mention him. So that to me is, I think, going to be there.
But he seems like the obvious candidate. You gotta think, all right, so there's 8 names who we don't know if they're going to be in there or not. There's a good chance that like 5 of those 8 are going to be people you would expect, like James Ellsworth. So yeah, eliminated the fastest, it's got to be James Ellsworth.
It absolutely has to be. Will he break Santino's record? I think there's a chance, if that's even possible at this point.
No, I'd love to see him eliminate somebody, like somebody big, unexpected, and then just get eliminated really quickly. Gone.
I think that's, if we like rewinded time and it was Ellsworth from 2 months ago, you could see that, but not anymore.
Damn. Okay, so we have a mutual agreement that it is Ellsworth. Now, who will be this year's Iron Man? We've had guys like Stevie Richards, Rey Mysterio, Shawn Michaels last a very extensive amount of time in the Rumble. I think that this year is really, really difficult when you think about guys like Goldberg, Lesnar, Strowman, Taker, so many guys, Orton. A lot of guys can be the Iron Man this year.
I disagree. I think it's easily Baron Corbin by a mile. That's how you make Corbin. Yeah, totally. Because Corbin's on this they're making Baron Corbin look strong streak right now. And that's how you make Corbin look the strongest without having him win the Rumble. Have him be the Iron Man. Have him go the distance. And he looks great in the process.
All right, I have 2 picks. I don't know if that's cheating. Can I do 2 picks?
Do it, man.
Because one of them is kind of like an asterisk because we don't know what's going to happen. I'm gonna say Seth Rollins, that he's gonna find a way back into the Rumble. So Seth Rollins is kind of my if he can get back into the Rumble pick. My second pick is Sami Zayn. He seems like the guy who could hang and be able to stay in it for the longest and still be able to perform a lot of cool spots throughout the match. And he's that perfect underdog type guy that it's like, oh, you believe he has a chance, and then he eventually gets out, but he does last the longest because he enters in early.
That's actually my pick. I think that Sami Zayn needs this desperately because, okay, so we finally got over kinda over the Braun Strowman thing, but this is where you bring it back, right? I think that Zayn is going to eliminate Strowman. He should eliminate that guy by himself, and I think that Sami Zayn is going to find a way to just last there and be in the final 4, maybe even the final 2. If you look at the big names, I think that most people are going to the big names to win. But if there is an unexpected person that could win the Rumble, even if he doesn't, but you want that ray of hope, that possibility, it's Sami Zayn. So I think that he's going to last the longest. And yeah, I totally see him at like a number 3 or something like that. Up next.
Disagree.
Well, we may disagree strongly in this next one. Most eliminations. Now there are a lot of guys that can fall into this. Like half the guys
big
here.
Boys in this one.
And how do you eliminate a giant from the Royal Rumble, folks?
By having more giants. That's how you do it. Braun freaking Strowman better eliminate the most people this year.
It has to be Braun. It has to be that moment. Like, there's probably going to be a couple of those this year, and I love them. It's when everybody's in the ring just doing their thing, and then you hear the music of the next entrant. Everybody just kind of stops and looks and like, okay, let's formulate a plan. Let's get this guy out. And then I think one of those is going to be Braun, and Braun ends up cleaning house and he won't be in the Rumble for long, but he will have an impact in that Rumble while he's there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that Strowman should be there for a long time, but he's there to clean out the clutter. So when most people that are there that are totally not going to win, that's when you send him out. You set up the big thing. And I think that he's going to be eliminated about halfway through, or like once we get to like number 25. But I also have to agree. Now, this is where we start to maybe spoil who we believe is going to win the Rumble. Who will be the... What?
Let's say asterisk if we think the person that... Wait, never mind. Just keep going.
Okay, well, I will keep going.
I'm saying that because one of my final 4 isn't announced for the Rumble. So how do we approach that?
That's one thing I wanted to say before we get to the final 4 is, Royal Rumble is generally full of surprises. So who do we think are going to be surprise entrants?
Kurt Angle.
No, he can't do it, man.
I don't want to say mine because I think mine's going to win the Rumble. So I'm gonna respectfully
that beforehand. All right, fine.
It's gonna happen.
No, just
now.
You know what? Whatever. Just say it.
No, I'm gonna say it when we say who wins.
Fine. Okay. All right. Surprise entrance. So let's throw out some names. We got. People think Kurt Angle. I highly doubt it.
I think you're crazy.
People think Kenny Omega. I highly doubt it.
Simon Dean.
Do people from 205 Live and the UK tournament count as surprise entrants because they're not technically announced?
Yeah.
I think we'll see
Samoa Joe, Finn Balor. These are much more likely candidates for surprise entrants. So Joe and Balor less likely because we don't know about his medical condition. But Joe seems like almost a lock to show up.
He should show up. I think that he's the most logical one, not as a one-time deal, but as this is it. He's Samoa Joe. Now, the problem is that when you look at this Rumble, it's tricky. How do you handle him? Because with so many guys, your Lesnar and all that, you got to be careful. Unless he wins the Rumble. Like, if it's Joe wins the Rumble. Like, if he's the one that is the surprise entrant, I think he should win the Rumble. I'm sticking to that right now. If he's a surprise entrant, but that's not going to be my pick unless he shows up, and then I take that back. So because
there can also be a host of
going to the final 4.
You could always throw in like the Kevin Nashes in there. They could even do Jake the Snake,
RVD or
Scott
DDP.
Hall.
Yeah, Scott Hall, DDP. I mean, they did DDP not too long ago. They could throw in a
Hacksaw Jim Duggan because he shows up for all of them.
Like, there's a chance a lot of those legends can show up too, just to have a cup of coffee.
Do you think there's a possibility that Jerry Lawler eliminates Dolph Ziggler or something like that?
That would actually be really cool. Is Dolph Ziggler confirmed for the Rumble?
I think so.
Yes, he's on the list. He's on the list.
Confirmed on January 10th.
All right, so Jerry Lawler, that is a very good one. I like that a lot.
Now, final 4. And just to avoid repetition, like if Ryan says a name and then we agree, let's just lump that person up in there and then see if we can get the Byte that final four possibly.
We're not going to agree on a final four. We should just have our own final four.
Okay, fine. So I take it back.
Do
whatever you want. Do it.
We're
Ryan,
not going to
talk. Just go.
We're not going to year-end awards this, okay? I'm not getting screwed over again, okay?
Just name your damn final four.
For the love of God.
I'm having my own final four,
Ryan.
Okay, this final four is going to be a little weird because... This is very difficult. So guess what? Goldberg and Brock Lesnar are not in my final four because I think that they will eliminate each other. Okay? So my final four is going to be Seth Rollins. So I'm going on the big asterisk here that Seth Rollins find his way back. I'm saying Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman, The Undertaker, and Dean Ambrose.
That's interesting. We only have one overlap there. I think the final four for myself is going to be Baron Corbin, The Undertaker, Dean Ambrose, and question mark. The person that I think is going to win the Rumble.
This is really tough for me. I think that out of all the years, I want somebody really unexpected. I think that we're going too mainstream with this. Like, for example, Xavier Woods tweeted that he would like to help Kofi win. So even though if he doesn't, I love the idea that in the final four, you have like a Kofi Kingston, somebody that you in no way think is going to end up winning. But what if? Or like, how does he get creative with just avoiding elimination after elimination? So I'm actually going to put him. So that's number one. Number two, I'm not going to go with Rollins, but he's a really, really good option. Number two, I'm going to have to go with The Miz. Number three, I'm going to have to go with... Man, this is getting really difficult now. I'm going to have to go with Goldberg. And at number four... Oof. I've been thinking about this for the last week. And I don't have a real pick. If it's not Samoa Joe, I got to go with Dean Ambrose. I'm not crazy thrilled about this final four, but I like the combination. So you don't think
Taker makes the final four?
I don't think Taker and Lesnar make the final four. I think that those two somehow eliminate each other. I think that Lesnar should not be in the final four at all. He should be a threat, kind of like Strowman. Boom, you're out, and then you leave room for somebody else.
Okay.
Now, let's kick it off with Keith, because, damn it, I want to know who the hell do you think is going to win? Just tell us now.
Samoa Joe has to win this Royal Rumble. You've been saying if. I honestly don't think it's an if at this point. It's Samoa Joe's nowhere to be found in the takeover scene, and I think this is because he's going to make a huge impact coming into the WWE, winning the Royal Rumble. Plus, I just love the potential story it creates because Joe's not signed to a brand right now. He could go for Raw. He could go for SmackDown. He could really play it up like, I don't know what title I'm going to go for, and I'll make my choice later. I love that idea. And for that reason, I think Joe has to win the Rumble, and I would love it if he did.
Good reason.
I think that's cute. It's cute that you think Joe has a chance of winning. I
want this to happen. Oh my God. Just
it's the best outcome. It is the best outcome.
Best? Sure, maybe. I might agree with you there. But is it the most realistic outcome that would actually happen? I think not. I'm going with the safe pick that The Undertaker will win the Royal Rumble.
Oh.
And based on my prediction that Roman Reigns is winning the Universal title, I think it is a likely scenario that we could have The Undertaker versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania.
Okay.
No.
Keith looks disgusted with me.
I'm disgusted with that idea. Because that is a lose-lose situation when you stop and think about it. Because you have Roman Reigns, You have either Roman Reigns beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania, or you have The Undertaker becoming the Universal Champion.
Worth it just for how much people would rage. Seriously.
And we be there live, so we could see that firsthand. Just kids
man.
I'm telling you,
no cheering,
I think
cheering.
Taker's going to win. Taker could challenge for the SmackDown title as well, though, because he is unaffiliated.
I think Taker would be on SmackDown if he was challenging for the SmackDown title.
He's unaffiliated, so he could go to either side, challenge either show. I'm just saying, like, who knows what could happen at WrestleMania? I'm just saying Taker wins the Rumble.
Here's my thing. I have a tier-based system.
Maybe
I have a
that'd be the
tier-based
best.
system based on different outcomes. Based on non-surprise entrants, I got to go with The Miz. If John Cena's doing more movies and all that, you need to bump The Miz up. This is the time. If you don't do it now, it's honestly going to be never. The Miz has improved in the ring, in the microphone, and everywhere. Marketable guy. It makes perfect sense for him to be moved up. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to agree with Keith. If Samoa Joe is in this, he has got to win the Rumble. It's not cute. It is simply the best option. Ryan, I hate you. And now, third option.
You guys are adorable.
We didn't even talk about the guy at Balor.
You guys in your fantasy booking.
No.
It's cute. It's
Leave
really,
me
it is
alone.
cute.
No. If Joe was on TakeOver, I would call it cute. But unless
I
I'm
don't think
wrong,
it's a surprise that he'll be in the Rumble, and it makes sense. Oh, he's not on the show, so he's not in TakeOver, so he'll be at the Rumble. I think it's a stretch that he'll win.
Is it though? I honestly think it's more of a stretch for The Undertaker to win.
But to put him immediately in that spotlight of main eventing a WrestleMania straight out of the gate,
but
just seems a little unlikely.
Remember
I don't
this.
think it's like
you got to remember. There's two brands. Winning the Royal Rumble does not mean main eventing WrestleMania anymore.
Exactly.
The winner of the Royal Rumble does not.
That helps your case. For sure,
match.
that helps your case. I still don't think it's going to happen.
I just don't want it to be Taker, man. I just don't like that scenario at all. And the fact that Ryan brought it up scares me because people have that as a possibility. But yeah, Miz, Joe, and then Balor. Because the fact that we haven't talked about that, apparently he's going to get a medical checkup this week to be cleared. Now, I always take this with a grain of salt because, they can easily just screw us fans over like, psych, this is happening. But if he is in there, that's going to be my pick. Now, we definitely want everybody to interact with us directly. Who do you think is going to win the Rumble? Are Keith and I insane? If you think that we are wrong, hashtag cute on Twitter. Hashtag cute. Let's go with the Ryan thing. Otherwise, just write.
And just put like Keith is hashtag cute. And then just send that out to
Now,
everybody.
I'm going to give Keith, okay, Keith, if they support us, what hashtag can people use? It's got to be something anti-Ryan.
Why not just
how about hashtag believe in the truth?
Cute and hashtag Team Ryan, all right?
Okay. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Wait, are both like the same thing? Like if it's...
Team Cute? No, Team Cute is you and I.
Oh,
and then
okay.
Team Ryan is Team
okay.
Ryan.
Okay, I thought cute or Team Ryan. Like what? Both are Ryan. Okay, yeah.
Before we move on, I just wanted to take a couple of moments and really praise the Royal Rumble this year because this is the first time in a very long time where it doesn't seem like the outcome of the Rumble is just set in stone. It's not obvious. There are so many different ways that this Rumble could go, and just all of them, both of them seem they all seem plausible and exciting in their own ways. And there's even these little moments that we're excited for outside of the outcome of the Rumble itself. Like, nobody mentioned Brock Lesnar or Goldberg are going to win the Rumble, but that's going to be a hell of a moment.
It's not off the table, exactly.
But this is just one of the most fun matches that they've produced and hyped up in a very long time, and I love it. This is, after the last couple of years, this is what the Royal Rumble should feel like, and good on them for that.
The brand split is definitely helping this, so that even if somebody you don't like wins the Rumble, that gets kind of mitigated by the fact that, hey, there's another championship that you get to watch at WrestleMania. So it's not the end-all be-all thing that's going on. So that definitely makes it feel a lot better, and the brand split helps it be a little more unpredictable. It's nice that it's not like a couple years ago where we knew by SummerSlam who the hell was going to win the damn Rumble. So This is much, much better.
And it feels like an event. So I'm really looking forward to it. By the way, something that I'm going to be eating during the Rumble, we always talk about Byte snack, is probably pizza. I feel like the Rumble is like the perfect pizza type event. So those that are going to be chowing down some pizza, send us pictures. Is it going to be pepperoni? Is it going to be just sausage? I don't know. But hashtag Byte snack and send us a picture of that delicious, delicious pizza. High fat. Twitter, Byte That Cast. And by the way, time for another cool announcement. We didn't really have time to talk about NXT Takeover because, well, as you can see, it's already been a lengthy show. We haven't even gotten to any of that. Before we get to our traditional questions portion of the show, I am going to be having a Facebook Live Q&A happening this Saturday before Takeover at around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So that is facebook.com/ByteThatCast. Now, why are we choosing Facebook? As we talked about things last week, we are getting ready for WrestleMania weekend. We want to do a lot of vlogging, live streams, and Facebook so far, not confirming it, but so far it has been a really good option. So we want to just put it to the test. So maybe next time we do a Twitter Live, maybe it's Instagram stories or something, but facebook.com/ByteThatCast, beginning at around 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll be answering the questions that we don't get to in the podcast now because we don't have too much time left, plus all the questions that take place live, and then talk about Takeover, Rumble, and the 12-hour wrestling video game marathon, which is happening next weekend. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. Don't forget to send your questions. Byte That Cast.
Next weekend.
Using the yes, man, it's happening. It's happening. Use the hashtag AskBT on Twitter or send us an email. Let us know where you're from. Send us your life story. Do you like bacon? Do you hate it? ByteThatCast@gmail.com. You can also go there for business inquiries. Keith, hit us with the questions now.
All right. Go. So our first question comes in from Promo Neil this week, and they ask, hey, can you guys think of some bad seeds in the WWE? As in second generation or third generation superstars that never accomplished as much as their parents or relatives. The example that comes to mind for me is David Flair. And boy, is that an example.
Right out of hell of a Titantron.
Yeah, right out of the gate, I'm thinking of like Ted DiBiase Jr., who seemed like,
ding,
you know,
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, there was some promise there, and it just never really panned out. You could also say Grandmaster Sexay, you know, as the son of Jerry Lawler. Like,
but man, did he have a music career?
Yeah, he has a music career. Too Cool was fun for a little while, but when you compare his legacy to Jerry the King Lawler, just not even close.
The real answer is
to the legacy. Axel. Yes, totally. But to quickly go back to the legacy train, does anybody remember Manu? How about that?
The real answer is Manu. You know it's bad when you have a stable that is a generational stable and they remove you from the stable. You're gone. So good pick, but Curtis Axel, man. I think Curtis Axel is a real thing. Never forget, he was the Paul Heyman guy. Changed his name from Michael McGillicuddy to Curtis Axel based on his heritage. Music was based on his father. The name was based on his family. And then Axelmania ran wild. Yep.
Hulk Hogan, like, kind of screwed him over, but at that point when he's cosplaying as Hogan, it's GG, you know, it's over.
Yeah, agreed. Never forget Manu. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Jarrett Q, who asks, sell me on why I would want to see Goldberg versus Lesnar 3 at WrestleMania this year. I can't think of a scenario of why I'd like to see this again.
Neither can I.
You can't think of that scenario because that match isn't really for you. It's not for any of us. It's mainly it's to sell it to the filthy casuals. You know, they're the ones that are going to see, whoa, Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg. I remember Goldberg. Lesnar fought in UFC not too long ago. I get to order WrestleMania. That's why it's happening.
Exactly. That match is the living incarnate of the hype train. And that's good enough for me for why I'd want to see it. Even if it's just, I mean, you can't get worse than their first match. And the second match was a moment. It was a moment. So even if this is just them creating one more moment for Goldberg, I think that's all it needs to really be. It's just a big marquee match for WrestleMania.
You can keep going.
All right. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Cynical Cypher, who asks, what do you guys think is one of the largest missed opportunities in the WWE? I think they missed gold with Wade Barrett.
Juan, you're going to get your Simon Dean reference out of the way?
I already got my Simon Dean reference before, but honestly, DDP Yoga, man, for as good as that is, and I just did some mixtape earlier, the Simon system would have worked tremendously. I mean, you look at a guy like Maven, he would have hit drop kicks even higher had he not gotten fired, and then he went to QVC for a while. I'm not sure where this is going, so I'm just taking it back, and I'm just going to say, yeah, Wade Barrett. Think about the fact that he looked like a champion. He acted like a champion. He was being built up to be a champion. And then injuries happened. And just when it looked like he was going to get over that, the King of the Ring happened. The fact that the King of the Ring gimmick, because they turned it to the gimmick, he became King Barrett, is terrible. And then they did Bad News Barrett. People thought that was going to fail, but then it didn't. It actually became something. So naturally, they stopped doing it. And then he was gone. And that is the ultimate what if the Nexus would have beaten Team WWE at SummerSlam.
I still think Bo Dallas is a missed opportunity. The guy was getting reactions, and I really do think he has so much potential as just an annoying mid-card heel, and yet they still do nothing with him. They still have a chance to do something with Bo Dallas.
Never forget I'd like to see NXT Bo, ever.
Seriously.
He'll do anything it takes to make it.
Bo Dallas leaving when he was like, he had security all over him at like, what was it, Full Sail or whatever, when they were trying to kick him out. That was one of the greatest things in NXT history.
I agree. It's the first example of this that I think of goes way back in the day. The fact that they never did Hogan versus Flair, and they gave that to WCW back when Flair was in the WWF. I think that is one of the biggest missed opportunities just from a booking standpoint in the WWE. But yeah, for a superstar, Wade Barrett's really the one. They missed out on the Nexus versus Team WWE at Survivor Series. I think they screwed up by not putting the title on Wade Barrett back at I said Survivor Series, the championship. SummerSlam was the Nexus WWE match. The championship match was at Survivor Series. They should have put the title on Wade then, and then it just kind of faded out into nothing. And then for the remainder of his career, it just became this loop of momentum, and then you get injured. Momentum, then you get injured, and it just never really amounted to nothing. And I think Wade Barrett could have been one of the biggest stars in the WWE, but it just never added up, and it's very unfortunate. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Joe W., a lovely patron of the show, who asks, should The Miz be number 30 in the Rumble and come out to Daniel Bryan's music? How would the crowd react? And would this be a good idea?
That would be the ultimate troll. It would be very similar to when Shawn Michaels had Bret Hart's music hit before Bret Hart had, kind of rekindled his relationship with WWE. I would kind of like to see that happen, except for the fact that they keep teasing this Miz Daniel Bryan stuff. And if it isn't going to be a match, then just stop making me sad that it can't be a match. It's definitely a nice troll on the crowd, but I don't want to just be hyped up for something that isn't going to deliver. And WWE usually doesn't do things like that. They only hype something up if they're actually going to deliver on it.
Yeah, so it's weird that they're still doing it.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that this has gone on as long as it has.
I would love something like that to kind of happen, because I think that they still have naysayers on The Miz because he's The Miz. And something like this would kind of work, where embrace the hate. Make people hate you as much as possible. Like Daniel Bryan music, he's not there. Daniel Bryan, he can't wrestle. Take that hatred, because The Miz is one of the rare superstars that is a bad guy that people boo. Now, there's a little bit of like mixed crowd reaction because he's been getting so good. This is how you pull it back. In an interview where AJ Styles says, hey, I need to do a better job of being a bad guy, The Miz is the guy you look at for reference. So something like this would totally pay off and just piss Dana Bryan off as a GM.
Oh, it'd be great. I would love to see this happen, but not fully come out to Daniel Bryan's music, like start it and then do the awesome, and that's when The Miz actually comes out. But I don't think it should be number 30. Seems a little... I don't think it should be number 30 because I don't want Miz to be number 30 in the Rumble. I want him to be in the match more than then. So great moment shouldn't be saved for the end of the Rumble. Thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Pipe Bomb Martin, who asks... Hey guys, if you could legitimately make a comfortable living just doing this podcast, would you? Or why wouldn't you? Yeah?
See, I can't just do the podcast, but ideally we would love to be able to do more of this. Like, for example, like a show like tonight. You know, we do have our jobs. If you look at the last couple of weeks, we've been answering more questions. The podcast has been running longer. This one's running longer because it's, you know, the Royal Rumble show, but because we have our regular lives, we can't do a longer show because I'm between editing and all that. We need to sleep. But I would love to have a scenario where it's not just a podcast, but we can produce content. We can do live streams. We can do all of that and just hang out with you guys. And then hopefully, you know, like we get people that say, hey, while I'm driving, you're awesome. While I'm at work, you guys are awesome. You keep me entertained. We can provide more for you. That would be incredible for me.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, that is what we work towards. That would be the ideal goal, is to eventually turn this into a full-time thing where we do more and more content. I mean, that's, you know, things like Patreon help, and we're also, you know, trying to grow on YouTube, and there's, you know, tons of ways that we can, as we grow, find ways to monetarily be able to keep everything going to eventually make our way into a full-time gig. But, you know, that's a lot of hard work, and it's probably far away, but that is like that's a goal that we work towards because we love doing this, and to do this full-time means we can dedicate a lot more to it.
And that's what any creator should aspire to. I don't think that if anybody just aspires to be average, then stop doing it. You have to aspire to be the best, to want to do more, to grow more. Anybody should.
Because it's simple. If you're not out there wanting to be the best, somebody else is out there with that exact goal. So if you're not showing up to hit a home run, why are you stepping up to the plate? I'll leave it with that one. Thank you for the question. Our final question of the show comes from Mike W. And Juan, I want you to pay particular attention to this one.
Oh boy.
So Mike W says, hey guys, long-time listener. I drive a lot for work and it keeps me entertained on the long stretches. Well, you're very welcome, sir. Question for Juan. What does it feel like to be the biggest heel in Scotland right now? After referring to Glasgow, it's Glasgow, right? Glasgow, yeah. England, during the latest podcast. Thank God you've dropped the Shining Star moniker from your intro on the podcast, as now we know that Barbados is really the Shining Star of the Caribbean. Peace out.
Oh my goodness. Whoa, get the pitchforks.
You got called out, son.
Yeah, where were you during that day in geography?
Whew, okay. And I love how he writes peace out.
He signs Mike from Glasgow, England.
First of all, I need to accept something right now. We can do this show for like 10 more years. And I know that moment right there, that is my Roman Reigns moment. That is my Rumble winning moment.
That's
People
your
will
suffering succotash right there, actually.
Yes. I will admit that the moment we hit the stop recording button, there's not a button that actually says that. You just stop recording. I had this doubt in my head of what I actually said. But because it's late, I was going to bed. I actually spent the whole night thinking, did I say England or Scotland? I know I said Lund, but which one? And I'm at work. I read the comments and I see, Juan, how dare you? Or like, what? And I'm just going like, I am never going to hear the end of this. I poked fun at Hulk Hogan. Now I'm not in the Silver Dome or the Superdome. I'm not Hogan. There's not 50,000 people around us, but I got my Hogan moment, and I'm so disappointed in myself. I'm sorry. What?
Congratulations. You found your Chad and Gable.
No!
Yep. Come in. The water's fine.
But before I close this...
Juan, you worked yourself into a shoot, brother.
Yes, I did.
Much love, HH.
So for that, everybody in Scotland and everybody in England, because I'm pretty sure you were just as offended, I apologize. Mike from Glasgow, England, a.k.a. Glasgow, Scotland, I'm sorry. Keith, you're from Canada, man, but if I ever switched out Canada to like Quebec... Because I know there's like this thing where like Canada's very specific stuff.
Canada.
It's a province, I know, but I know that there's this thing of where you're from in Canada. Some people just generalize like Canada's one place. It's freaking huge.
So what you're telling me is that I can say I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot.
Exactly. I've said exactly like 20 times. Every time I've said it, take a drink this week. But
you're really shoehorning that into your conversation.
17. But thank you, everybody. For the questions. Now, you notice there was a slight podcast format change that we're going to be going forward. And that is that the patron shoutouts are going to be happening at the beginning of the show. Remember, for just $1, you can become a Patreon supporter. $5 patron supporters get a shout out at least once every single month right here in the podcast. But now, I hand this over to Mr. McNulty for all of the awesome announcements of things we've got coming up or happening right now.
All right, so we want to thank everyone for tuning into another edition of the Byte That podcast. So for announcements, Juan mentioned that he's going to be doing his Facebook Q&A this Saturday around 5 p.m. That's going to be before NXT Takeover. So like our Facebook, facebook.com, ByteThatCast, and make sure you turn on the notifications for live so that way you can know whenever we're going live. We're going to be probably testing out some more Facebook Live stuff because that looks to be the favored platform going into WrestleMania weekend for us to document. Everything must be documented. So we have to do that WrestleMania weekend. Facebook Live is looking like the front runner right now. Good luck to everyone who joined our BT Rumble giveaway. I'll repost the numbers if you didn't know yours. The tweet is up there if you want to look through the feed. But I will post that again and make sure to congratulate whoever wins. Also, this weekend I'll be doing a Royal Rumble review following the show. So look for that. It'll be kind of my instant take on the Royal Rumble. I have a feeling some big stuff is going to go down, so I'm really looking forward to giving my instant reaction to that. So that'll be on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. Our 12-hour wrestling video game marathon, which was one of our Patreon goals that we hit, is going to be February 4th, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be a 12-hour wrestling video game stream. We're going to play a ton of different games, including No Mercy, WWE All-Stars, WWE 2K14, Here Comes the Pain, tons of other games. All three of us are going to be a part of that, each going to take a block of several hours to do that. And because of that Patreon goal and lovely Patreon supporters, we get to do a lot of cool things. And if you'd like to help us continue to do more cool stuff, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/ByteThat. You can see all the cool perks and rewards you can get for supporting us. For as little as $1, you get a raw and uncut video version of the podcast. And there's tons of other cool things. At higher tiers, you can get early access to videos and be a part of exclusive giveaways. Some of our patrons in the gold tier got to be a part of a secret Royal Rumble giveaway. So there's a lot of cool things. Go over to patreon.com/ByteThat to check that out. You can check out our other social media if you want to interact with us on Twitter, twitter.com/ByteThatCast. And tons of more information about us is over at ByteThat.com. So thank you guys for listening. Enjoy the Royal Rumble. Look for my review this weekend on the YouTube channel, and we will all see you next week.